welcome to Ellen Ruth Soap. I'm Ellen, and today we are going to make a soap using some of the leftovers from my Makesy soap making kit, and I did a whole video and unboxing of this fabulous all-inclusive beginner soap making kit from Makesy, and I will leave a link down below for that video, or maybe in a card if I can figure out how to do a card. Me and my technology challenge. Anyway, I will have a link somewhere for that video, and I do have a discount code for Makesy, and they have fabulous fragrances and supplies and just everything. Candles too, lots of candles goodies over there. But this soap kit that I got came with something called a Trinity blend. And it's a pre-made oil mix that makes soap making so easy for the beginner and for me. I'm a seasoned soap maker, and this was a breeze. So this Trinity blend is made up of olive oil, palm oil, and coconut oil. And that's what's in here. And let me tell you, this has a fabulous lather. And then also in the kit, I got this 50-50 Lye Solution. That means 50% sodium hydroxide, 50% water. So it's already pre-mixed, and then you add extra liquid to get the volume up to whatever volume of liquid you like to use. Today I'm going to be using goat milk. In the directions it says to use water, but we're going to do milk and oil method for that extra liquid volume so that this doesn't turn into soap on a stick, because a 50-50 Lye Solution is pretty steep. Goat milk soap, that's what we're doing. And they have great directions. So anyway, all that being said, we're going to use this Trinity blend oil. We're going to use the 50-50 Lye Solution. I'm going to use sage and lavender fragrance oil in this soap today. And they sent in the beginner kit, it comes with micas, fragrances, I mean literally everything. Mint mica from them, this mint color mica to go with the sage. I thought the sage would look pretty for that. So yeah, we're going to make a sage and lavender soap today using this pre-made oil mix, which I think is fabulous. And the mold they sent me, it's a 4.5 to 5 pound mold. It makes a beautiful amount. I get like 15 beefy bars out of this mold that you'll see me pull out in a second. Anyway, that's what we're doing today. It's going to be really simple but fun. And again, there's a link down below for a discount at Makesy. This video is not sponsored. I just had some leftover ingredients I wanted to use up, and it sounded fun. So let's get into it and make some soap. All right, we are back for soap additives time. I have 48 ounces of the Trinity blend oils in here. I warmed them up so they're nice and fluid. And then to this, we need to add 7 ounces of liquid, because again, I'm using the 50-50 lye water, and that would be really fast trace if we didn't add any extra liquid to that. And so in the directions it says water, but I'm going to go ahead and do goat milk for my water portion. I think any liquid will do. So I have 7 ounces of goat milk that I'm going to go ahead and add to my 48 ounces of oils here. And then I am going to add my colloidal oats and my kaolin clay, because you know I love it. And I'm going to save my little fragrance off to the side. I will add this in later because there weren't really any reviews on how it behaves. It says it behaves in cold process soap, but I don't want to take any chances. So we'll put this in after we get the colors split and blended. And then to represent the sage portion of this sage and lavender, I'm going to use the mint mica that they sent me in the all-inclusive beginners soap making kit. It comes with micas, botanicals, lye, oils, every single thing you need to make soap. And I'm going to use this mint color for a little swirl in this soap. I'm so excited to use this. It's pretty, pretty, pretty. I do have some lavender buds. I might put these on top. I'm going to see how I like the top. If you've followed me for any amount of time, you know I'm not a huge fan of botanicals on top of soap. They look really pretty, but I think they're a little pesky, but sometimes the soap just calls for it. So I'm going to have these in reserve off to the side, and we'll see when we get there if we want to put those down on top. So let's get our dry ingredients blended in here, and then we will get to measuring out our lye solution. So here's the kaolin clay. Now this is a 2 tablespoon scoop that I normally use in my big, huge batches I used to make. And so I have this, you know, about half full. So I'm going to call this about a teaspoon and a half to 2 teaspoons of kaolin clay that I'm adding in here. And I'll do the same amount in my colloidal oats. I'll call that about 2 teaspoons of colloidal oats. And I think that'll be perfect in this size batch. back and it's time to measure our 50/50 lye solution here. And I have this one already open. Let's see how far we get. I need 14 ounces. These have nice, good safety caps on them. I need 14 ounces of 50/50. So this is 50% sodium hydroxide, 50% water. All right, there we go, 14 ounces. And this little scale came in that beginner's kit also. It just came with everything. I was so impressed. All right, let me get this off to the side. And we've got our fragrant oil off to the side. I've got my color dispersed in just a teeny bit of distilled water here, so it'll blend really easy because we're not sure about this fragrance, how fast it's going to move. So let's go ahead and add our lye solution in here and just blend it up to a nice trace, and then we will get to our colors and get it poured in our beautiful Makesy mold. Okay. So this is one of those things where I'm just feeling it and watching, because I am not super familiar with this particular blend of oils. You're watching it go from ivory to sort of a caramel color, and that is the lye reacting with the goat milk. It's totally normal to do that, and it will bounce back. This blend seems to trace, well, it traces faster than my core recipe, but it was such a beautiful bar last time I made it. I was really excited to do this again. We have emulsion, so I'm going to split off for my color. And while I'm doing that, let me talk about some of the things that I didn't add to today's recipe. Because the lye is room temperature, I did not add my silk. I wouldn't be able to melt it in the lye solution. So there's no silk in this, and I didn't dissolve sugar in the goat milk because, you know, milk has natural sugars. So we will give this a lather test when it's all done to see if I'm missing having the sugar in there or not, or if I can feel not having the silk in there, all of those details. It'll be fun to test this. Let me get my green color blended, and then I will not forget to add the fragrance. Oh mercy, I have done that before. When I have a fragrance I'm holding off to the end, and I have been known to forget to put my fragrance in, and that's not fun. Of course, unscented soaps are divine also, but when you want to add it, it's not fun to forget it. All right, let's add our fragrance. And per the instructions, it says this little 2-ounce bottle does this batch perfectly. You could add a little more. This is kind of a lighter scent, but I think it works out great. It did last time. The 2 ounces was perfect for this size mold and this size batch. So let's get this blended and poured in the mold, and I'm going to do a spoon handle swirl in here today. If I'm not mistaken, this fragrance is actually slowing down the trace. That's nice. Very nice. I always prefer the slow down than to the speed up. If I had to choose one, I'd choose the slow moving. the next day. And I wanted to show you, I have this very inexpensive little cheap fleece blanket that I got at Walmart, I think, or somewhere. It's just super inexpensive. So I had this lid on last night, and I had the blanket over it, so hopefully this went through gel phase. With a single loaf like this, I wanted to definitely insulate this to get the heat mass built up. In my big slab mold that I use in many of my videos, just the heat mass of that much soap helps build upon it, so it goes through gel phase a little easier in a big, huge mold like that. So this little cheap blanket was put over this. Yes, this is a goat milk soap, and yes, I still like to gel. Some people don't like to gel their soaps, and some do. I'm a geller. And there it is. Look at how beautiful and muted that mint color came out. And yeah, I was messing around, fussing around with the top. I just couldn't decide, and I wasn't loving the swirls, so did the little scoop, and I think it just kicked it up a notch. I'm loving it. This smells very herbaceous this morning, almost medicinal, that fragrance, but if you like that, if you like a really herby sort of medicinal scent, this is beautiful. So let's get it out of the mold, and we'll get more talking when we cut this. Back, it's soap cutting time, and this feels very, very firm. And I forgot to show yesterday when I was making this that I did add sodium lactate to the goat milk. I like to add sodium lactate to my soaps. It helps unmolding the next day. It helps a lot. It firms them up quicker. It doesn't make for a harder bar at the end of the cure, but it does harden up quicker, and this is very firm today. Easy to work with. I'm loving that. And so I forgot to show that. You know, I get into such a habit when I'm making soap. Sometimes I just do things automatically and I don't think about stopping and filming. So cutting this, I'm trying to go very slowly. This is a hard bar of soap today, which is great. I love that. You just want to go real slow if you have a multi-bar cutter. And let's see what we've got here. Oh, it's pretty swirly. Now, see how it's a little bit darker there than it is on the outside? That's going to lighten up. That's just remnants of gel phase going through, and it will lighten up to that nice, really pretty ivory color here. Oh, these are beautiful. They're just beautiful. And being a standard size soap mold, my soap stamp is not going to fit on the side, so I'm going to have to stamp across the front, which I think is great. Oh, I love it. That spoon swirl and pouring the soap in layers really helps get a nice swirl going, which I think is fabulous. So, all right, I'll talk a little bit about gel phase, and some people ask, what is gel phase? Well, the first thing I would say is if you don't really know what gel phase is, Google it. You'll get a much more in-depth scientific answer on Google than I'm going to give you right now. But when you add lye to oils, there's a process that goes on, saponification. That's what makes soap. The lye ceases to be caustic, the oils cease to be greasy, and together they make this beautiful thing that lathers and makes you clean. It's fabulous chemistry, and it goes way deeper than that simplistic answer. But saponification is the heat mass. So when you mix those two ingredients, the lye and the oils together, they create a heat mass and they cook the soap. That's what hot process soap is. It's cooking the soap down. It's going through a gel phase in the crock pot before you, or in your pot, you know, whatever vessel you're using, before you get it in the mold. It's that cooking process. Well, in a cold process soap, I'm pouring it in the mold when it's still cold, literally, and then it goes through the heat mass, and that's gelling. Now, it still makes soap. It makes a beautiful hard bar of soap without gelling. So if I had poured this in the mold yesterday, took my mold and threw it in the freezer or the refrigerator to stop gel phase, it would still be fantastic soap. And some people like to do that with milk soaps. I like gel phase. I like to go ahead and let that cook happen. I've never had scorching, rancidity, any issues at all. Look at that cute little twirl. Looks like an ocean wave. And I think the colors come out a little brighter with gel phase. I think it hardens up a little faster with gel phase. Those are some of the reasons why I particularly like gel phase. Plus, I'm just really used to it. I have a girlfriend that exclusively makes farm fresh goat milk soaps, and she does not gel any of her soaps. She takes them right after the pour, throws them in the freezer, and does not allow them to go through gel phase, and her soaps are fabulous. So it is a personal preference. I would say if you're just getting into soaping, try a few gelling them with blanket over the top of the mold, try a few throwing them in the refrigerator, and you see what you like best. Personally, I'm a geller. I love how the colors come out. I like being able to unmold the next day. For me, gel phase just works. So it's just, that's how I roll. But it's a personal thing. One isn't better than the other. That's what I'm saying. All right, here's my last little half of the loaf. This Makesy mold holds about 4.5 pounds of soap batter, and I think it's just a lovely batch size. The mold is so sturdy. I think it's perfect. All right. Let's get this sliced. So fun. Love it. I just love soap making. I love the science. I love the artistic side of it. You can get so creative. It's just fun. And I will leave a link again for the Makesy video where I talk about the whole starter kit, where I got these products from. I think it's a great way to make your first batch of soap if you've never made a cold process soap before. Loving it. Okay, so I am going to wait a little bit. These are hard enough, I can actually come in and bevel and stamp, but I've got a few other things to do. We'll be back in a little bit to bevel and stamp, and I'll talk a little more about that when we get to it. All right, I've decided to do a little experiment. So here is a little end slice, and we're gonna do a lather test on this right now. This is 24 hours after making, and I have my little pH strip test here. We're gonna test this for pH. Typically, a well-done cold process soap or bar soap should be between 8 and 10 on the pH scale, 9 being perfect. So we're gonna test this at 24 hours. And the reason I wanna do that is I have been asked on IG, on my Instagram account, you're cutting your soap with bare hands, isn't that dangerous? No, the saponification process goes rather quickly, and after 48 hours it's completely neutral, but we're going to test it at 24 hours. I'm going to see how it feels on my hands. We're going to test the lather, which I really want to test with just the milk sugars in here, and we'll give it a pH test just to show you that this is not dangerous. I'm not hurting my hands. The sodium hydroxide in this is not active any longer. So let's go ahead and give it a lather test first. And if the pH is off, then we will wait another 24 hours and do this again. But I have a feeling it's going to be perfect. And oh my goodness, this lather, hello. It's very slippy and creamy feeling, but it's also got some big bubbles. All right, let me set this down. Oh, so on the first turn in your hands, it's a really dense, slippy, creamy lather. I mean, honestly, this would make an excellent shaving soap. And then the second lather, big bubbles. Oh my word, look at that. Big, slippy bubbles. Love that. So what we're gonna do here is take my little bar of soap, try to dry my hands off. I'm gonna work up a little lather here in a corner. Take my little pH strip, and we're gonna put it on the wet soap. And let's test it. I'm gonna dry my hands off so I don't get everything wet. So here is the pH strip. Here is the color 9. That's an 8, and there's 10 is getting into kind of a purple color. 24 hours after making this, we are a solid green. We are between an 8 and a 9. This is a completely safe pH for soap. If you wanted to bathe with this bar, it would be completely safe to bathe with this 24 hours after making it. So cutting soap with bare hands the next day is totally safe and totally fine. Now, that being said, I will say my salt soap hardens so fast, you have to cut it if you're going to be cutting a loaf while it is still gelling and pliable. You want to wear gloves for that. It hasn't been 24 hours yet, and it can still be a little hot to the touch. But 24 hours later, we're pH safe. This is fabulous, and I love the lather on this. So I'm going to go get my beveling supplies and we'll come back and chat a little bit more while we clean up the bars. All right, we are back to bevel and stamp, and I still have a bucket of shavings. I had been making soap flowers with the shavings from my soaps, but I still have this bucket. I want to fill it up, and I'll rebatch this soap, and we'll do a whole video with that. So today I'm collecting my shavings in here. Here is a beautiful bar. This is a vegetable peeler, and I just make quick swipes, and then you get a nice even bevel on there. And it makes for a more comfortable bar to hold. It just doesn't have any sharp edges. I prefer beveled edges. It feels comfortable in my hand. So now, because I'm going to stamp the front, I got to pick a side. Let's see. I think we'll do this side. And here is my stamp. I'll leave a link where I got this down below. I get asked all the time. It's obviously a wooden handle, and this is a hard sort of plastic resin. And so the impression logo is a little bit deeper because this is made for soap stamping. And I get asked all the time, what size is your soap stamp? Well, first of all, it doesn't matter what size my soap stamp is. Your logo is what matters to you. So yeah, you don't have to do everything exactly like I do, because the name of your soap business might not be the same length or as long as mine. It might be longer, it might be shorter. So I will tell you the size of my soap stamp because, you know, it's not secret, but honestly, my soap stamp size has nothing to do with your soap stamp size. So here we go. It is 3/4 of an inch wide, or yeah, I guess that would be the width. And then the length here is 2 3/4. So a little bit less than an inch by a little bit less than 3 inches. That is the size that I sent him my logo on a PDF file, and he made the stamp for me, and that's the size it is. And it works for most of my soaps, round soaps and things like that. It doesn't fit on like my little owls that I make. This won't fit on there. But for my tall, skinny ones, it fits on the side. For a standard size soap, it fits on the front. So there's my soap stamp. Here is isopropyl alcohol. You can use 70%, 91%, 99%. Alcohol just works really well for me because it helps the soap stamp to release from the soap without picking up. It doesn't stick. So about every 3 to 5 stamps, I will re-spritz my stamp here to keep it wetted, and then it releases from the soap really well. So let's do that. I just spritz my stamp so it's nice and wet, and then any moisture is going to evaporate really quickly because of the isopropyl alcohol. It evaporates very fast. Just a gentle tap, rock it out, and now it's really wet because of the alcohol, so kind of just let it air dry for a second. But there is the stamp impression. It makes a nice crisp impression. And again, your logo is going to be different than mine, so you'll want to get whatever is specific for you if you want a soap stamp. I just think it's a fun thing to add. You definitely don't need to stamp your soaps. And if you're white labeling or wholesaling, you're not going to want to stamp your soaps. But for me, I just think it's a little personal touch. Plus, I love whacking things with my mallet. I don't know what that says about me, but I have fun stamping my soaps. So there it is. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. This soap was really fun to make, and that Makesy starter kit just simplifies your first soap. It is so easy to use. So I would say give it a try. If you've never made cold process and you're curious, give that kit a try, or just buy the oil blend and the lye. It makes it super simple, and their directions are very clear. Plus, I have a discount code down in the description box. If you go shopping with Makesy, use the discount code. I'm all about getting a deal. So there it is. Have a wonderful day.